Food markets only.
Meet Susie Smart, she is so bright. On her blackboard you can write. She has a desk, she has a seat. What's your name, my darling sweet?
My name is Susie Smart.
She can talk!
She can talk, but can she add?
2 plus 2 is 4. Cat, C-A-T.
You can spell!
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
You recite!
Press the button, she says a dozen things, complete with desk, blackboard, and seat. Susie Smart, sold at food markets only.
What's this stuff? Some cereal. It's supposed to be good for you. Did you try it? I'm not gonna try it. You try it. I'm not gonna try it. Let's get Mikey. Yeah. He won't eat it. He hates everything. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Cheeseburger, 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 cheeseburger.
Good evening, cats and kittens, pups and pooches. Hope y'all can hear me. It's Susie Q96 and M3 the blunder cat. I don't know where he's at this evening. We'll see what happens here. I'm probably going to be doing an abbreviated program, mostly because I have my follow-up appointment tomorrow for my eye surgery that I had, and it's 2 hours away, so I got to get up real early for the transit to come and pick me up and take me to Roanoke. So for that reason, I'm probably not going to be doing a real long thing tonight, but let me first say hi to everybody who's in the house. We got Arnie C. I'm so glad Arnie's back. I've been missing not having my Arnie around. And I got Annette and the new Marshall's in town and William E. Mandy's Candy. So we already got a pretty good little group. A diverse group of wonderful people. Many of you. Oh, there's Jackalope and Paula. And well, thank you, Paula, for sharing out the show. That does help. It usually does get a few people in because of me being so sporadic with being sick. People don't know if I'm on or not sometimes, and so I lost a lot of people. So when y'all share it out that I'm on, it really is a big help because people never know. I never know, simply because I'll wake up one day and I'm rip roaring ready to go, and I'll wake up the next day and I can't get out of the bed. And until I get up to Michigan and they can start the treatments for this IgG4 autoimmune disorder thing that I have, I don't know if we'll be able to really level that one day good, one day bad thing out, until they can get the infusion therapy started. And I'm probably going to have some really crappy days for a while when that first happens. But in general, at least, there's not much I can do about it. It's like I debated on whether I was even going to come on tonight, and I decided I was going to because I got a lot of people I need to thank, both in my coin collecting community and my metal detecting gang, for what y'all did last week over there on Ms. Million Dollar Meg's channel. There were so many people involved in that fundraising race. It was amazing. That race was supposed to have maybe 15 prizes and last maybe a total of an hour. And people kept donating more prizes, and more people kept making donations to get in the races. And by the time it was all said and done, that thing started at 7 p.m. and it did not end until well after midnight. And that was one of the most amazing experiences. I'm still overwhelmed. By the time it was all said and done, that $250 fundraiser turned into a $2,200 fundraiser, which is going to pay for the truck to move my things in, any additional help that is needed to load the truck. It will pay for the flatbed to take Sir Benji's van back to Michigan, towed behind the truck. Sir Benji volunteered to come down here and help me get moved because he only lives 7 miles or so from where I will be moving to. Yeah, it was originally going to be 250 spots at $4 a spot. And there were originally 15 or 16 prizes, but by the time it was over with, more people kept donating prizes. And so the way they had it set up was really cool, where for one $4 donation, you were in every race. It wasn't $4 per race. It was, you pay $4, you're in every race. And that worked out really well because some people said, well, I want 5 entries, you know. So they'd spend $20 and they'd get 5 entries. For every race that they would have entries through the whole thing. And it was a really good thing where and then things were getting donated back to the chat, so even people who could not afford to make a donation still got a chance to win things. And one of the things I thought was absolutely hysterical was one of the items donated back to the chat was a really nice silver round, an ounce of silver that I won in my own fundraiser. And normally, if that happened, I would have donated it right back. But number one, that was a really nice little piece. And I either sold or traded away most of the silver rounds and that kind of things that I had because I needed the money for the move more than I needed silver rounds. But I was so overwhelmed by the generosity and the kindness and the brilliant way this thing was put together that I decided I was going to keep that piece so I would have something to remember that event by. It was such a well put together, well done thing. So many people were involved. And the thing is, I truly did not know about the event until the day before it was happening. I went in that week and got surgery on my eyes, so I could barely see the event, but I could hear it. And yeah, William, he said, I passed out before you did. But what you don't know, William, is there was 2 or 3 times where I just had my head down on my desk because I could not see. I had had a cataract removed from my good eye, which meant the good eye was all glossed over like it had Vaseline on it. And the bad eye has the tumor in it wrapped around my optic nerve. So I could not see a lot of the items that they were showing on the screen. I could only listen. And I would close my eyes for a while and rest them, and then I would open them up and I could see, some parts of some of the stuff. It was really strange participating in it that way, but and I put my head down and Z'd out a couple times, and I think twice or 3 times during the event, because it was like every 3 to 4 hours I would have to stop and put drops in my eyes. Well, I had not put them in when it started, so around 7 I put some in, and then around 10 I put some more in, and then just before it logged off and I was going to bed, I put some more in. So but it was so well done. I didn't hear any griping, complaining. Everybody was having a good time. I laughed a ton. And that's an experience I hadn't had for a while, of just going into somebody's channel and just laughing. It was so well done. And I've got a list of all the people. And I was supposed to make a video today, but I had some things come up here that at the apartments that had to be taken care of. So tomorrow I got to go get my eyes inspected. So I'm going to try to do the video on Friday after I go get my blood work. And it's going to be a two videos for the price of one. One of them is going to be the new contest that we're going to have that's going to run till the end of the month, which is the jar full of clad that came out of all those bags of metal detected items that we did the last contest of how much did the trash weigh. Now we're going to do how much change is in this jar. Yeah, FMD outdid himself. Oh my gosh. Florida Metal Detecting. Dwayne is awesome. And then I want y'all to know that he did this. He may or may not be lurking in the background right now, but I want you to know that he called me the next day to make sure that I got all the money and that I was doing okay. And, just an absolutely amazing person. He's real low key, he stays in the background a lot, but he does a lot for the detecting community. And he is from a part of Florida that was like part of our everyday hangout when I was growing up in Florida. I grew up in the Orlando area, and he's over on the East Coast by Cocoa Beach, kind of over in that area. And we used to go over there all the time. So I'm familiar with the area he is from. But he just outdid himself. $1 Million Meg, Andy, my mouth don't want to work. Andy J. the nurse, Mrs. RC. I think Mandy's Candy was involved in there. Sir Benji donated some stuff. Of course, Florida Metal Detecting. Sappy Chappy was in there. There was a ton of people that were donating stuff. I know I have missed some names, but I've made a list so that when I do the video, I'll try not to miss anybody. But that was one of the most organized and easily flowing, just fun fundraiser that I have ever seen. And the fact that it was for me, I just couldn't believe it, because they did such a good job of keeping me from knowing about it, that if Florida Metal Detecting hadn't let me know on Thursday, I might have missed my own fundraiser. It was absolutely freaking awesome. Hey, Mike Wolf. Okay, the next thing I need to let everybody know real quick, because I really don't have a detecting show right now, as much as I would like to. First of all, our weather is stinking. And second, I can't go outside and be around anything where there's dirt blowing around because of just having eye surgery. So I'm just trying to use my Wednesday night show to keep everybody apprised of what's going on and what is upcoming. There is going to be another one of those type fundraisers, because there were some items that were donated directly to me that are here at my house. And now that I see how they did that, that was a very simple way to do it. It wasn't complicated. And I'm just going to take all of these. I think there's about 9 or 10 items that are here, including one of the pinpointers that was donated back by Treasure Tom. So, and there's some silver coins and some other things that have been donated back. And so I'm going to use this in a couple weeks. I'm going to use the same format as they did, because it was easy to do. And I can just, as soon as the thing is over, just put it right in the envelope and put the name on it. And we should be able to get them out of here pretty quick. But there, like I said, there were some other things that were donated that did not get into that one because they didn't tell me it was coming. And as it turned out, so many things got donated to that one. It was just awesome. But I do have a little box down here with some items in it. So we're going to do another one to get these donated items out, because people were kind enough to send them over to be part of the fundraiser. So after I get my eye examined tomorrow, then the following Tuesday, I have to go and let them check my implant and on my heart, make sure that that's all healed like it's supposed to. And then I don't have a bunch of stuff on my schedule after that, and I'll be able to do that. I was notified I am currently number 9 on the moving list, and I've been moving up about 1 or 2 spots every week. So we're figuring right in the dead middle of winter, we're going to be moving me. But that's okay. We'll get it done. Mike Wolf says, was informed the package had arrived, but is at the pizza place having dinner. So hopefully we'll be getting it. Mike won one of the metal detecting pinpointers that was donated to the channel by Kellyco. So that's the package he's talking about, is his metal detecting pinpointer. And then the great mystery of how Amazon sent M3's cat toys to Silver Slinky's house. We've got that resolved, and M3 will get he'll get his toys back. And one of them did actually come here. The other 2 went to Silver Slinky's house. So it was just a real screw up. Something got glitched in my account. And when I had gone back in and changed my address back after sending something to Silver Slinky that was won as a giveaway, for whatever reason, the address didn't change on Amazon. So when I ordered M3 a new catnip mouse and a new treat container, because both of his were broken, they ended up going the total opposite side of the country. And the M3 was not happy with me. But if you would like to see him being a happy kitty, he did a short video yesterday, I believe it was, of him with a new banana. This one's kind of different. I don't think he likes it as much. This one I thought he might like this one better because it has the banana actually coming out of the peel. But he doesn't seem to like the shape of this one as much as he likes the other one. But there's a pretty good little short video of him up there playing with his nanner. So at least he got one new toy, and so he is quit trying to rip our arms off. But like I said, I do have a lot of medical stuff going on this week. Tomorrow, I got to go back to the eye specialist who is the one that discovered the IgG4. And am I not on here? Do I have sound? Testing 1, 2. Testing. Anyway, I got to go get my eye checked by the specialist who discovered the IgG4. And then the next week, I got to go have him just look at my heart. Well, here's the thing, William, about when you say don't worry about streaming so much. Here's what happens. If you have a channel and you are trying to get it monetized, and then you do not put any content up for even just a few days, they don't take into consideration that you might have a real life And there's two things they do to you. Number one, if they don't see any activity on your channel, they start taking away your subscribers. If they haven't seen the subscribers posting or participating in any way for a couple of weeks or so, they start taking them away from you. But what they really start taking away is your view hours. Your view hours scroll off. So every time I get close to having enough view hours, and then I have to take a break for a couple of weeks because of my medical things, I'll come back and I will have lost 200 or 300 view hours. So I can never get monetized. The only way I can get the channel monetized is if I come on every day or every other day and at least do a short or something that people can post and comment on, so they don't take those people or those hours away from me. I was not aware of that when I first got sick. I was made aware of it after they took over 350 subscribers and almost 1,000 view hours away from me. That the only way to keep those things is that I have to come on and do the streams or the videos. The streams, you get your hours faster, and it's easier for me to do the streams right now than it is the videos because of my eyesight. So that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm doing it. And like I said, I don't really have a lot, I have a little bit of metal detecting content right now, but I don't want to let my metal detecting show die, because if I do, they'll take all my hours and my people away from me again. So that's why I try to not have to cancel due to sickness, even if I just come on for a half an hour. That allows people to come on and they have something to comment on. And there, see, Happy Chappy, I just mentioned you. There's old Chappies. So anyway, William, that's why even when I'm sick, that I try to come on and at least do a short show, because that way there is something for the people to come and make a comment on, and it keeps the algorithm on YouTube happy, and they don't take away so many of my hours and so many of my subscribers. I mean, I have been so close to getting monetized several times, and then every time I get sick, that happens. So I learned my lesson on that one, that even if I feel like crud, if I come on and I make a video or M3, make a little short video of M3, that it keeps them from taking so much stuff away from my channel. So that's, you know, I don't really worry about it per se. I just now know that it's something that is beneficial to my channel. Unless I'm really sick, I need to come on and do a video, even if it's only 10 or 15 minutes. Because then that does provide something for people to leave comments on. And it keeps them from blowing me out of the water. Because I have enough people and I have enough videos What I don't have is enough view hours. So the more I go up there, even if I'm only up there for 15 minutes, the better chance I have of raising that view hour number. And I I know realistically I'm never going to be a channel that makes a lot of money, and that's not the purpose of it. My main purpose of it is I would like to have a little bit of money to do things like when I run out of stickers, I can replace, I can replace my sticker supply so I can send stickers out. And I can pay postage so I can send small prizes out. Or I can go over here to our crazy coin store, uh, where it's a combination coin store, DVD, sales, and funeral flowers. Now figure that combo out. But that's what happens when you live in a small town out in the mountains. But then I can go over there and I can pick up some buffalo nickels or some rosy dime, silver dimes of some kind, so that I have at least something to give away. I'm not trying to compete with these guys that are giving away pieces of gold and bunches of silver rounds and that kind of stuff. First of all, I'm not that kind of collector. I had some rounds for a while. I gave most of them away. I'm not a silver stacker. I'm like a continental coin collector. I like Benjis and Walkers and silver quarters and V nickels and wheat pennies. And, I'm a collector of currency coins. There's Florida Metal Detecting. I knew he was around here somewhere. I just knew it. I can tell. So that is my motivation for trying to get my channel monetized, is just for it to, so I can put more back in it for the people that come, as far as like some small prizes and paying the postage and being able to send out stickers and the real basic stuff. I am not trying to, you know, be one of these people that gets hundreds of dollars a month. I mean, would I like that? Sure, I think anybody would like that, but that's not my main goal. My main goal would be if the channel was making $30 to $50 a month to cover things like postage and stickers and that kind of stuff. It's just, um, you know, and in order to do that, the way they keep changing things around on YouTube, um, I kind of have to keep up a regular schedule, whether it be a regular schedule of videos or a regular schedule of streaming. Well, once I get to Michigan, my brother got me a new computer. And I'm still working on getting everything moved over to the new one. Now, the new one will allow me to run other softwares because it's a 64-bit and I can run more cameras. I can run different software. I won't have to be stuck with StreamYard, which has done me well. I'm not cussing StreamYard, but it has its limits. And once I get moved, I can set everything up completely differently and advance the channel a little better. Right now, I've got packed boxes all over my living room, and I just can't. Yeah, I don't have any space to set things up the way I want it. I was given a couple items for the channel. I was given a ring light. Um, I was given a tripod, and what I am missing is I have a very good microphone, but I don't have a stand for it. So once I get it all in the new place, I can set it up properly, and which is good because I have other channels that I have just let completely go. You know, I have one for my jewelry, and I never really got to develop it because I got sick. Once in a while, I'll put something over there. I have one for genealogy. I have one for the band I work with that I've done nothing with them. I can't, I don't really have it set. I don't have the setup right. But when I move, for one thing, that apartment's going to be bigger. It has a bit more uh, square footage and better laid out, and plus I have people up there that can help me that are already running these different things. So, and I have more people up there I can go metal detecting with, which is a big help because I only have 2 metal detecting friends here. And I don't see them that often. That's why. Am I on your Facebook? I don't think I am, Mudswat. I'm on your YouTube, but I don't think I'm on your Facebook. Oh, and what we were talking about the other night, Mudswat, about those records I'm selling, and I mentioned I had a lot of 60s stuff, and you said something about classic rock. Well, last night I was going through some more containers. I found all kinds of, like, from the late 70s through the late 80s 45s in there. Yeah, all kinds of really cool stuff I did not even know I had. And I remembered when I opened that first box and I saw, and a lot of them are in like the picture sleeves. And I remembered where they came from. I was at a yard sale right before I was planning on heading back to Michigan. And I was at this yard sale, and they had 2 of those 45 boxes that hold like 50 records each in them. And I saw a couple records in there I wanted. And I asked her how much for just these 2 records that I wanted. And she told me, oh, you can have both boxes for $5. So I took them all. I never even looked in those boxes except to take those 2 records out that I knew I wanted. So I ended up, there's like, what a strange mix of records in there. There's everything in there from Bruce Springsteen to Pat Benatar to Boy George, Soft Cell. I mean, I never saw such a weird collection of records in my life. But it's cool. It's a cool collection. and they're all in excellent condition. So, yeah, see, I used to have a huge collection because I was a DJ. And I was like one of the youngest DJs in the state of Florida for a while. I started out on this channel at this local radio station. They had this show once a week where they had junior high and high school kids that came on, and we reviewed records and we talked about what bands were popular at our schools and that kind of thing. So I started out in radio when I was like 12 and became a broadcast journalism major. And at one time I had over 10,000 albums and over, I think, around 6,000 45s. And when my mom died, I did not really know that I was going to have to vacate that house. And I was given 1 year to clear that house and vacate it. So I had to find someplace to live. So I sold most of my record collection to buy a motorhome. And I kept about 2,000 of the 45s. And I just started selling them. And I've only listed maybe 5 or 6 of them. The very first one, I pulled it out of the box and I made a joke to a friend of mine in Florida that also knew this, or she lives in Texas now, but it was a Florida local band. And I made a joke. I said, I'm going to put an outrageous price on this just to see what happens, because I knew I could drop the price. Well, I put this record up and I priced it at $196.50. And this is all money to go in my moving fund. The record sold for the buy it now asking price, $196.50. And of course, I almost had a heart attack. Yeah, I've got a few Sun record first pressing. I told my sister-in-law, I said, I'm going to keep 2 of the little storage boxes. You know, they hold like 50 each. Well, I've got like 20 of them sitting all over my living room floor, plus the taller, the ones that came out in the 70s that I didn't really like them because you couldn't keep the records in the sleeves. They fit down on a spindle and then you screwed the lid on. Well, I mean, even those cases are worth 15, 20 bucks a piece. But, so anyway, I sold that one for $192.50 and about had a heart attack. I emailed one of the guys that had been in that band and told him, hey, you know, I hope you realize I just sold you on eBay to help pay for my medical bills. So then I sold another one, and I was surprised it didn't sell for more. But apparently a lot of people didn't know the history of that band, or it probably would have. So then I started putting little brief histories in my listings on some of the more obscure ones. And the next one I pulled out, I said, okay, that putting the crazy price on seemed to work pretty good. Let's do it again. So I pulled out another one and did the same thing, and I priced it at $300. Sold it within an hour for full asking price. So I know I have records that are going to help pay for my medical care. Oh, yes. I know my music really well. That's one of the things that I know when I pull something out and look at it, and I look at the condition, and I know how to tell the pressings, and, you know, and I don't lie. And that's one of the things, if you look at the feedback on my record sales, that's one of two things that people really like. I don't lie to them about condition. I tend to underrate the condition, and I am very, very careful in packaging. I get a lot of comments on how great I package the records. Well, the other thing that I have done, that if I can do it, and it's an obscure band, is because I was a DJ, I have like other collections of things like concert flyers and that kind of stuff, or advertisements that I cut out of the newspaper back when I was growing up listening to some of these bands in my hometown. And so I try to throw a little something extra in there. So I get repeat customers. When I was selling my records before, I had a ton of repeat customers for that reason. Well, I mentioned that big sale the other night, and Mud Swat was telling me about how his brothers or how his dad had a collection, and his brother left them in the car and melted them. And he had asked me what I had, and I said, "Well, I've got a couple thousand of them. I don't know what all I have yet. I'm just going through one box at a time." But I knew I had a lot of 60s stuff, and he said, well, he was looking more for 70s and 80s, that kind of classic rock stuff. And so last night I hit a couple more boxes while I was sitting here, because I got to clean them all. So while I'm sitting here at night, sometimes I'll just be watching videos and cleaning these records, because some of them, the sleeves are bad, and I have to throw sleeves out. And those, if I can keep them in the original sleeve, they stay in the original sleeve. If the original sleeve is nasty, I'll replace it with a new sleeve, because I'm not going to put a clean record in a dirty sleeve. I'm not going to do it. So last night I opened these two boxes, and it was like mostly 80s stuff. Late 70s, early 80s, a lot more classic rock. Somebody really liked Toto, and I liked Toto. Toto was a good band, but there were several Toto records in there. Somebody really liked Pat Benatar, whole bunch of Pat Benatar, Madonna, Linda Ronstadt, Styx, ELO, and I didn't even know I had those records. And then I remembered where and how I got them was because I was after a couple of Tom Petty records that were in there that were a little more obscure, because they were Tom Petty promos. And then they ended up being songs that the record label did not push. They went for something different off his albums instead. So that made them a little bit more obscure, and I wanted them because one of the people, I grew up in Central Florida, so one of the bands I grew up listening to was a band called Mudcrutch. Well, Mudcrutch was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers before they were Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So I was after that stuff. And so I ended up, I wanted the two records, and she said, you can take both boxes for $5. So I did. Because they were all super clean. The only problem with them was they were in those round carriers, so none of them had sleeves on them. And I asked her if she had the sleeves, and she said no, she had thrown them away. Ah! But I've been collecting 45s since I was in elementary school in the early 60s. And unfortunately, I had some that over time got broken. And if they hadn't, they'd be worth thousands of dollars now. Like I had Beatles records from before the Beatles were on major labels. They were British import 45s. And one of my friends sat on them and broke them. But I still have a lot of things that are easily going to sell for over $100 each. And I was just getting started when I had to go have surgery on my eye. And I want to make sure my eye is good because I have one that's really bad. And then I have one that now, because I had the surgery, is almost 20/20. Because when you're selling records, you got to be able to see if there's surface scratches and that kind of stuff on them. I have to play every one of them to make sure they don't skip, or if they have, I call it Rice Krispie syndrome, snap, crackle, and pop. I go through, I play every record that I sell, and I put notes in there, of what my opinion of the condition is in. And I'm basing it on the fact that it's got a couple of surface scratches or a couple of snap, crackles, and pops. But I had a new thing happen yesterday. Never happened before in selling records, to me anyway. Some of the classic rock, in fact, quite a bit of the classic rock, yes, I do have the sleeves, but I don't have any really decent boxes as far as the storage boxes, because I do not like the round towers these came in, because you can't put them in there with the sleeves. But you can buy the boxes. I actually saw a couple pretty nice ones on Amazon that I'm going to order a couple of to keep my ones that are in the picture sleeves in. Now, I don't sell a record that's not in some kind of sleeve. I just don't. I would never send what I call a naked record. At the very least, it's going to come in a plain white or plain brown sleeve if I don't have a picture sleeve or the original label sleeve. And then it's going to come in a poly sleeve, a plastic protective sleeve over that. That's how I sell records. I don't sell them wrapped in a piece of tissue paper or something like that. I just don't. And part of that is from working in radio. When you work in radio, you have to learn how to handle records. You don't put your fingers on them. You don't put them back in the shelf without putting them in a sleeve. There's just things you don't do. Because when you're working in a radio station, those records on that shelf, that's your money. And if you take one out and you put it on the turntable and you're putting it on the air, and some ding dong has not properly sleeved it and it skipped, you are effed. That's the only way I can put it. You're just effed. Just send me an email and tell me a couple of groups that your brother or your dad liked that his brother roasted for him. Just tell me some groups he liked, and I've got so many. I'll pick you out 3 or 4 and sleeve them up and just send them to you, because I've got plenty that I'm never gonna have time to list. Right now, I'm trying to just list the ones that I know are going to bring me in big money that I can use to pay for medical expenses. But yeah, just send me an email with some groups that he likes, and I will go through and find some appropriate music to send to him, and I'll just send you some, because I got plenty. Like I said, I've got tons of them that I will never get around to listing. And most of the classic rock are over here in these 3 boxes that I have, that I just started looking in last night. So I won't have to dig too hard to find something appropriate to send. In fact, I thought of one last night. I have to look it up first to see if it has any real value. But if it's not like super value, I thought I would send it just because I knew it would make him laugh. It would make anybody laugh that got it in the mail that grew up in that time. But I have some funny stuff. I have some, it's mostly classic rock. I do have some country rock, and maybe about 10 country records, because that was the first thing I sold, was all the country, because I'm just not super invested in it. But yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at like a stack of 20 to 25 boxes that each have 50 records in them. And I still have more I haven't even looked at yet. So yeah, we can do that. Well, after I sell I wish I had the Cheech and Chong with the rolling papers, but I will tell you something I've got, Chappie, that hardly anybody has. I have this is an album. This isn't a 45, but I have the very first Frank Zappa Mothers of Invention album that came with the button that says Susie Cream Cheese, What Got Into You. There were only 1,000, I believe it was, released that had that big pin that came with it. And I have that original Frank Zappa pin. Now, because I have that original Frank Zappa pin, I wore it to a concert where Bruce Springsteen opened for Frank Zappa at the High Life Fronton in Tampa, Florida. And I was right up in the front, and I didn't know who Bruce Springsteen was, and I didn't care. I was there to see Frank Zappa. But I got this great big button on. He sent one of his road guys out to get me out of the audience right at the end of the show, and I got taken backstage to meet Frank Zappa because I had that freaking button. And the other 2 people that were on that show were Flo and Eddie, which is basically the 2 front guys from the Turtles. And so I got to meet Flo and Eddie, and I've become good friends with Howard. And Howard sent me an autographed copy of his book, and I've gotten free tickets to a zillion Hippie Fest shows with the Turtles, and all because I had that button, and I still have that button. I mean, I kind of grew up in music. I have so many friends that are musicians. I can turn on YouTube, and right now on my screen, I have it paused and the sound turned off. Today, I was watching the Outlaws because I grew up with them. That was one of my bands. I paid 50 cents to sit on the floor at the teen center and watch the Outlaws. That band still exists today. And I went to see them play about 3 weeks ago. Another one that I was watching, I watch a lot of Young Rascals videos because that was one of the first bands I ever saw live. And I absolutely was enthralled. It was the first time I paid attention to a drummer and how drum rhythms worked. And I still think to this day, the most underrated drummer on the entire planet was Dino Danelli of the Rascals. That guy was freaking incredible. He died about 6 months ago. But I anytime they were anywhere around, I would go see them. And I ran across a video this afternoon of people making little tributes after Dino died. And they were talking to just different musicians. And they had found some clips of people talking about Dino way before he died and just talking about how they thought he was underrated and that sort of thing. And one of the people they had in there talking about Dino Danelli, and so I knew this was filmed several years ago, was Tom Petty, who grew up about 75 miles from me, and we used to go see his band. And he was talking about how big the Rascals were in our area. And a lot of it was because people just thought Dino Danelli was like the best drummer they had ever seen. And then I was talking to my friend Monty Yoho, who was the drummer for the Outlaws for decades. And he told me Dino Danelli was the first drummer he ever saw. And that's what made him want to be a drummer. Oh, I love Charlie Watts. Charlie Watts is like so laid back that you almost think he's going to just fall off the drum riser, but he's never missing a lick. I wanted to be a drummer when I was a kid. I really wanted to learn to play the drums, and I was in a real poor family, and so it kind of was out of my reach. And one of the guys from the Outlaws was going to give me some old odds and ends drums. And a couple weeks before I was supposed to get them, I slipped and fell and I broke my collarbone. And I broke it so badly that they told me I was never gonna be able to, pursue a drumming career because of that broken bone. So I became a guitar player, but I wanted to be a drummer. And one of my best friends on the planet is Monty Yoho from the Outlaws, and their original drummer David Dix, who started that band. Both drummers, but Monty, he had to retire in late 2019, and I still talk to him about every other day. We've known each other since the 60s. I have a ton of music friends. Like one of my friends, Billy Crane, his brother Tommy Crane wrote with Charlie Daniels, wrote The Devil Went Down to Georgia. I mean, I got a ton of music friends from working in radio and working in rock and roll and being around the Outlaws. And, my whole life was pretty much one of the guys in the Outlaws named my photography business for me. I said, well, he said, you should, make some money off your photography. And I said, well, I don't even know what I'd call it. And he said, well, you're pretty stupid then, because the only things you do is rock and roll, which is rock music and race cars. So I had rock and roll photography for a while, where all I photographed. I wouldn't do weddings. I didn't do portraits. I did rock bands and race cars. I mean, I've had a crazy. I think I may hold the world record for who has seen the Outlaws the most times. That band still exists to this day. And last year at a concert, Henry Paul got up and did this 15-minute story about me, in which they referred to me as the Den Mother, because some guy in the crowd had called me a fat old groupie and told me to get out of the way, and I thought the band was going to come off the stage and kick his ass. So Henry told them, look, this lady was affiliated with that band before I was. He said, this was the Den Mother. This was a lady that made sure the band ate, that they had clothes that didn't have holes in them, that would have to come bail people out of jail, and he just went into this whole big story about how I fit into the thing, and nicknamed me the Den Mother. And this year I went to see them, and I hardly got in the gate and people were coming up, hey, the Den Mother's here. So I have like my own identity now. Some 50 years later, I still have my own identity with that band. I've gone through several different nicknames, but the current one is the Den Mother. And whoever I saw up there who said, oh, I like pink, by the way, whoever said they like pink. But somebody up here said one of their favorite guitarists was Keith Richards. So this has kind of turned into a not so much metal detecting thing and more of a metal music thing. But I got to tell you a story about that comment right there. When I went up to take care of my mom, I hadn't played guitar for quite a while. I had just kind of laid it down and not played. And then I went back to stay with my mom and be her caretaker. But in the course of doing that, I ran into like musicians that I had grown up with, and they're like, well, do you play anymore? Well, not really, not so much. And they got me playing again. And I decided I wasn't really confident enough to get up and play on stage with some of these people. And I decided I was going to go once a week and take guitar lessons. The music store right up the road, they had guitar teachers up there. And so I go up there to find out what it's going to cost me to do this. And two of the guitar teachers came out. One of them turned out to be a guy I knew through the Allman Brothers band years and years ago. The Allman Brothers are not a Georgia band. I don't care what anybody says. I'm sorry. The Allman Brothers started out in Florida. They were from Daytona Beach. So anyway, one of these teachers I knew through the Allman Brothers band. And I thought, this guy'd be a great teacher, but we would never get any playing done because we'd be talking about the old days at the Allman Brothers' big house, but the two of them are like trying to decide who would be the best teacher for me, and what did I want to accomplish. And I told them, I said, I don't want to be the out front lead guitar player. I said, I want to be a kick butt rhythm guitar player. And they said, well, name your 3 favorite rhythm guitar players. And this is kind of a trick question because people think Keith Richards is the lead player of the Stones. He's not. Ron Wood is. Keith is the rhythm player. So here are the 3 names I named off, and this is how they decided who was going to be my teacher. The 3 names I named off, most people think these guys are lead players, and they're not. They are the 3, probably the best 3 rhythm players in the world, though. I named Keith Richards, John Lennon, and Steve Cropper. Now, most people don't know who Steve Cropper is, but Steve Cropper wrote so many songs and played with so many people, but the one place that people recognize him, because he was basically a studio musician at Stax Records in Memphis, Tennessee. But where most people recognize him is he was part of the Blues Brothers band in the movies and on Saturday Night Live. They call him the Colonel. And when I named off those 3, the guy that I did not know pointed at me and said, "You're mine, come on." And when my mom passed away, I didn't have money anymore to go to guitar lessons. Because I used to love that was my break from caretaker. Wednesday, somebody else would come. I could go and I could take my guitar lessons, and then there were a couple of different Wednesday night jams, and I'd load my amp and my guitar in the car, and I'd get in and I'd go to the jams. And the first time I would come in, they'd all look at me like I was supposed to be going up there playing folk music and singing Kumbaya. And then they'd go, "Wait a minute, she's got a dean. Are you playing heavy metal?" And I said, "No, but you got a Dean." "I know I've got a Dean, but Dean makes other guitars besides Dimebag Darrell's stuff." They said, "Well, what do you play?" I said, "I play oldies, classic rock, and blues." And they're looking at me like I got 3 heads. And some of the jam bands that were hosting these things, they didn't want to let me come up and play. And I found a couple of different groups, one at each one of the jams, that would let me get up and play with them. And one night I played it with this one group, and afterwards I had like 10 people come up to me and say, "Man, it's so refreshing to come in and see a girl that they haven't forced into being a folk singer." Because we were up there, we're playing Tom Petty and what else did we play? Jethro Tull. You played Locomotive Breath. I mean, we were just playing all kinds of stuff. One of my favorite jam songs was Eddie Floyd's "Knock on Wood." I could get down on the rhythm part of that. And then we learned a song, and the name of it has slipped out of my brain at this point because we learned it. We only played it a couple of times, but it was off a Keith Richards and the Expensive Winos album. And I would play Steve Cropper stuff, and people were just amazed because girls weren't supposed to play that stuff. But yep, those were my two. Yeah, those were my two guys trying to decide who I was gonna take lessons from, and the three, and I say that, and people will go, "Well, I thought Keith Richards was a lead player." No, he's a rhythm player, but he came up with some. If you read his biography, he tells you how he gets some of those sounds and who taught him some of that stuff, and you'd be really surprised. You need to read his book. Especially if you're a player, you need to read his book. Uh, but the Steve Cropper thing threw him off because hardly anybody really knows who Steve Cropper is. Yet Steve Cropper has been involved in everything. And one of the things I've been doing now, because I didn't even know the depths of that character. And when I'm cleaning records now, I started looking at who wrote them, who wrote these songs. And like there's a song, it's a B-side of one of the Steppenwolf songs. Yeah, one of the Steppenwolf hits. And it's the B-side, and the song is called Sookie Sookie. And I used to play that song on the jukebox all the time at the pizza parlor when I was like 14 years old. I never knew until 2 weeks ago that Steve Cropper wrote it. And I'm a fan of his. And I keep finding songs that Steve Cropper had his hands in. So if you want to look up somebody that's really cool, and if you're somebody that likes Keith Richards, go look up Steve Cropper and listen to some of the stuff that guy has written and played on, and you will be amazed. You will just absolutely be amazed. But for a while, I quit playing music. I had a rare form of psoriasis that got on my hands, and I couldn't play. And the person that has really encouraged me to play again is Question Mark from Question Mark and the Mysterians, who has informed me that when I get back to Michigan, he has 3 new songs that he's written that he wants me to play some rhythm on. So I might actually become a recording star in my own right. you know? But it got me listening to music every day again and playing more and paying more attention. Because, truth be told, about the mid 80s or so, early 90s, radio went to hell. Music, I didn't like. Grunge, I didn't like. Most heavy metal, I didn't like. There were some heavy metal artists I do like. But in general, I'm a blues kid. I love blues. And yesterday I opened a box. And there was a day I had been at my guitar lessons down there at the music store. And I'm not a lead player. And I told them right off the bat, I didn't want to be a lead player. I don't want to be the front guy. I have too much stage fright to be the front guy. Well, I was at my guitar lesson one day, and my guitar teacher, his name was Rudy, and we were sitting back there just playing a blues jam. It was kind of Allman Brothers Freddie King mix thing, and all of a sudden he throws the lead to me, and I'm panicking because I'm like, I'm not a lead player. I'm just not, you know. But I muddled my way through, and I didn't know it, but the other guy was standing right outside the door listening. The guy that did not become my teacher was standing right outside the door listening. And when my lesson was over, I put my stuff in my bag and I opened the door to go out. And he sticks this hat on my head that looks like Elwood Blues from the Blues Brothers. And he says, "You have officially earned your Blues Girl hat." Well, yesterday I opened the box because I'm packing and going through things, and I found my Blues Girl hat. So I'm afraid later this week I'm going to take a day off and I'm going to hook up my amp and put on my headphones and my Blues Girl hat, and I'm just going to sit here and jam for a couple hours. MTV had a lot to do with ruining it, but VH1 was worse. I still am mad at VH1 because at least MTV would play some true rock and roll, and they would play like B.B. King and some blues stuff. And they would play Keith Richards solo stuff. VH1, they one of the things they did was they did an interview with Question Mark, in which after they did it, they edited it in such a way, and they did this to other artists as well, where they edited things in such a way that it made it sound like these people were saying things they didn't say. And the only reason they did it was because they were trying to get better ratings than MTV. So they thought, well, if we can create some scandal where there isn't one, we'll get more viewers. So they really ruined it. MTV was a good idea that just went bad. But anyway, I got way off the subject. I have plans for a music channel. I've already got it claimed. I don't have any subscribers. I don't have any videos on it. But I have already talked to several of my musician friends and asked if they would allow me to interview them or to tell certain stories. And they're all very supportive of it. So what may well end up happening is I'll still keep my coin collecting and metal detecting, but I think my real place is in music. I don't think it's with the coin collecting. The coin collecting was a hobby I had that I had dropped, and I picked it back up when the virus started because I couldn't go metal detecting. In hindsight, I should have probably picked up the music again, but that's not what I did. Can I get the Cash App? Did I get? Yes, I did, Kevin. And I was going to say something to you the other night in the fundraiser, but I couldn't really see what I was typing very well because I had just had that eye surgery. But yes, I did, and thank you so much. What part of Michigan am I headed to? Well, it's a little place out in the middle of, it's between Flint and Detroit, which are like the two worst towns in the world, but it's north of both of those. It's near a town called Davison. Uh, it's between Burton and Davison, but it's not too far from Flint, but it's nowhere near the bad part of Flint. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. Now, Sir Benji actually lives only, I think, 7 to 10 miles from where I'm going to be. I used to live in a town called Flushing when I lived up there before, but my house up there got flooded and ruined. And now I'm not moving into anything that I have to own because of being sick. I want to live where I don't have to shovel snow and I'm in an area that has good transportation in case I get where I can't drive. So I know this area pretty well and I can get around. When I lived up there before, I lived there 2 years before I even got a car. I could pretty much get anywhere I needed to go. What part of Ohio are you in? Yeah, it has a name. It's called Burton. But if you look at Burton, Burton's a weird shaped town, and part of it is butted up against Flint, which looks terrible. But that's not the part I'm going to be living in. I'm going to be living in the completely opposite northeastern side of it, where I'm not really going to be that close. Oh, I've been to Dayton a bunch of times. Every time I've ever had to go to Michigan, I go through Dayton. I had a friend that lived right outside of Dayton. He passed away a few years ago. I think the name of the town was Kettering. Does that sound right? But yeah, I've spent the night in Dayton before. Once because my motorhome broke down there. And I slept in the parking lot at a Days Inn. But yeah, I'm familiar. Oh, excuse me. My tea went down the wrong way. Okay, so I was right. It is Kettering. Yeah, I had the original lead singer for the Outlaws back before Henry Paul joined in '73. There was Outlaws from '67 to '71, almost '72. And the main reason they broke up was their lead singer went in the Navy. Well, after he got out of the Navy, he lived in Kettering. That's one of the reasons I've been through there so many times, because my friend Herbie lived in Kettering. He had he worked at he worked for Kroger, and he actually wrote a couple of radio jingles for Kroger grocery stores. So you may have actually heard my friend Herbie on the radio at some point in time in the greater Dayton area. But yeah, I've been there many times. His kids still live in Kettering, some of them, and I'm hoping that when we're making this trip back, that's usually about as far as I can go before I got to stop. So I'm hoping that we actually uh, stop in Dayton and I can call Herbie's kids and have them come over to the hotel and see me. But yeah, Kettering, I know Kettering and Dayton. And then you go up the road a little further and you end up in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And but yeah, I also have other people in other parts of Ohio. I have several friends in Columbus. I have cousins that live in Columbus. There's Meg. Oh, thank you, Meg. I love you. I love you. We got the money all gathered up today and moved over into The moving money is in a separate account. That way I can't get it mixed up and accidentally spend any of it. And somebody else, there's a second signer on that account so that it can't get messed up. Oh, I won't be that far from Fenton at all, Kevin. There used to be a radio show that came out of Fenton. And I wish I could remember the call letters for the radio station. It was like an old AM station, and they used to have a radio show on there called the Dr. Doo-Wop Radio Hour. And they would play all kinds of oldies and Michigan bands and stuff. And Question Mark and I used to be on there a couple of times a week, or I mean, a couple of times a month. It was on once a week, and we would be on that show. But no, I won't be very far from Fenton at all. Fenton is kind of like halfway between where I'm going to be living and Ann Arbor, where I have to go for my medical treatments. So, yeah, that's kind of the area. But yeah, Meg, I got my aide after she got off work. They had a stupid rule that my home help aide is not allowed to drive me anywhere. I'm not allowed to ride in her car, and she's not allowed to ride in mine while she's on the clock. So today I got her after she was off the clock. She left my house, went down the road, put some gas in her car. Then she came back. Hi, my friend, I hear you need to go to the bank. And she picked me up and took me down to the bank so I could move the money into the right account. And so we got all that moved today. We got the money from the Friday night one, and then the 200 and I think it was 225 or whatever it was from the other one. So we got it all moved over into the right account. So now we can redo the budget, make sure we got everything covered. And I got a few articles that were sent to me that did not get into the big race. So after I get my checkup on my heart monitor thing, we're going to have the not so big race over on my channel, because I really liked the format, the way you guys did it. I can follow that, and I can make that work. I was making things way too hard before. So the way you guys did it, I thought was that was the best way I've ever seen somebody do one of those, where you just pay the one amount, you're in law. And it made it good for people that don't have a lot of money. Because sometimes I'll go in and they want you to pay $10 a race or $20 a race donation, and I can't do that. I could do $4. And because it was only $4, there were people that said, oh, well, I can do $20 and get more than one entry and have a better chance. And people got to participate and have a great time. And you guys did that thing so smooth. I just could not believe. I would have had that thing so jumbled up. But the way you guys did it, I think I have like maybe 10 or 12 items that came here that and not all of them are coin collecting or metal detecting. Like one of the really cool things, and I have 3 of these, came from, they are from the very first Tokyo, Japan Comic-Con. They are backpacks, and they have Steve Wozniak from Apple Computers pictures on them because he was one of the main people that helped organize that first Tokyo Comic-Con. And I have 3 of those to give away or auction, as the case may be, but I think I'm going to put them in the giveaway. One person who won one of the metal detecting pinpointers donated it back, so I have one of those to put in. I have some silver coins. I have some rock and roll things. I don't do auctions worth a crap. That's been the problem. I have tried to do auctions. Anybody that's ever been in my auctions know how bad I can mess one up. If you want to know how bad I can mess up an auction, ask Doug Harding, because I still have a bag sitting here on the counter. This is this week's project that has auction items in it that I have owed Doug for almost a year because I messed his order up so bad that I have had to go back through all of my emails, pull every email from him, and lay the emails out on this big long table, and then take these items and try to match them up so I can make sure that I have all of his stuff. And it's been almost a year. But I really liked the auction, or the race thing where you pay $4 and you get in all the races, because I'm one of those people that doesn't have a lot of money, and I end up just sitting watching the auctions, and I can't participate because I don't have the money to do it. And I know a lot of other people like that. They have no chance of getting anything, so they just don't come to the event. If they know I can spend under $5 and I got a chance of getting a silver round or whatever, they'll come and they'll have fun. And it's much less confusing and much less hassle. You know, the race runs, you know who won it. You don't have to have the other thing, because I don't see very well. It's very hard for me to do auctions because I can't follow the stream. I've got one eye that I can only see half out of. And unfortunately, it's my right eye, and that's the side of the screen that the stream runs up and down. So much simpler for me to do the format that Meg and them used. And I felt like it let a lot more people participate. And whether you were rich or poor, you had a chance to get something. Heck, I won a silver round in my own fundraiser because somebody donated it back to the chat. I mean, that was funny. So I'm just not good on auctions. I'm not. And I would rather do something that I can include everybody in. Everybody can be a part. Yeah, Kevin said I won and I never win. You know, that was part of what I liked about it. Everybody had an equal chance pretty much of winning something. Like I used to go to a lot of online auctions, and I would start bidding, and by 2-3 bids, I was out because I couldn't go past like $25 or something. So I was out. And I do better in the games. And I think the games are more fun. I think sometimes the auctions get too cutthroat. And if the person, let me see if that person is in here, because I think he was earlier. Maybe not. Nope. But I got a few years back into a bidding war in an auction on one of the channels. And some people in there knew why I was bidding on that item. And it was very it started getting real cutthroat real fast. And there was a very special reason I wanted this particular item. And it got down to me and another person who participates in my channel, by the way. But for a couple of years, we were not even in the same channel, because so many people made this big whoop-de-doo about this auction. And so the auction's going on, and I'm bidding, and he's bidding, and I'm bidding, and he's bidding. And I was getting pretty close to what everybody knew was my cap. And I just was going to have to give up. And some people that were in the room started saying things to the guy that was bidding against me that I had no control over what these people were saying to him. I'm just in there, and I'm in this bidding thing for this item. But some people in there were saying, come on, dude, just let her have it, and things like that. And he ended up winning the auction because I reached my cap. And I'm like, well, I was pretty disappointed, but I'm like, okay, well, that's just how much money I had. That's as far as I could go with it. But several people had kind of ridiculed this person and said some not so nice things, that he should have let me have it because of this or that. Well, the owner of the channel wrote me a big long essay email and accused me of trying to rig the auction by having these people heckle the other bidder. I had no control over what these people were saying. I didn't even know some of these people. But I went from being a mod on a channel I really loved to never being on that channel again over an auction. Because you don't have any control over what people are saying in the stream while the auction's going on. And I felt really bad about it. And so anyway, that person went ahead and they paid for the item. Well, first he told that channel, let me have the item. And so I sent the guy money for the item. And then the guy that won it sent money for it. So the guy actually, I think, got paid twice. I'm not sure if he refunded one of us or not. But it took so much of the joy of having the item away I think I've looked at that item one time now, because every time I look at it, I feel bad. I just feel bad about it. And I feel bad because I don't feel welcome in that channel. And I used to be a moderator in there, and I loved being in that channel. And I did not feel like I deserved to be blamed for trying to rig an auction that I had no control over. And then another time, the last time I was in that channel, I was bidding on something, and one of the moderators blocked me in the middle of the auction so that there was no way I could win, because they couldn't see anything, any bid I was making. So those are a couple reasons I don't like to try to do auctions. And I was so happy when that person that I had gotten in the bidding war with started showing up again in this channel. And he's a regular in this channel. He doesn't happen to be in here right now, but he's a regular in here. And we're on fine terms. We had no problem with each other. It was all the other people in there stirring up a bunch of crap. And I didn't like that, and I don't like it, and I don't want it happening here. So, and I'm always outbid. So I kind of just don't go, because I know I'm not going to win. I don't have enough money to compete. So that's why I liked the way Meg and them did this thing. Pretty much anybody could afford $4. You can give up a cup of Starbucks coffee and you got $4. I saw a question. What number am I now on the move in? Well, she is still going through the letters and stuff that came back, the forms that she sent out for people to fill out as to whether they were still interested in the units. So she has not completely done the update yet, but I have moved up to number 9. So I am in the top 10. Now, as things have been working out, I've been moving up 3 to 4 spots a month. So it's looking like the middle of December, maybe. But right now I am number 9, and she said she still has more responses that she has to go through and adjust her list. So it could be number 7 by the end of the week when she gets done doing all that. But I'm in the top 10 now, so we are seriously closing in on the move. So that's where we're at on that. But anyway, I do have these other 10 to 12 items. So there's going to be a smaller one of those kind of races probably at the end of the month. Oh, I also have a few little rock and roll things. I think I have a question mark in the Mysterians t-shirt. I have an Outlaws keychain. Just some assorted kind of cool things. Like I said, those backpacks from the first Tokyo Comic Con, and they're brand new. They've not been used. My niece and her husband lived in Japan when that event happened, and they got those at the Comic Con. So, there's Furby. Hi, Tina. I had not planned on staying on here this long. My phone's starting to get hot. But Anyway, I'm going to have to go because I have got to get to bed sort of early tonight. The transit is going to be here to pick me up and take me to Roanoke for my eye exam at like 15 minutes after 6 in the morning. So I've got to get all my paperwork together, and I still got to take my meds and wash out my eyes, and M3 is going to want his treats. Well, I have 3 of those backpacks. So, and they're brand new. When my niece was moving, they downsized from a great big house because their son went in the Navy and their daughter graduated from high school. So they downsized from this like 6-bedroom Victorian to a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom apartment. And those backpacks were still in the plastic bag in the closet up on a shelf. And I found them up there, and I was like freaking out. And my niece was like, "Well, anything that we left in the house, you can have it." So my sister and I got to go through, and of course we ended up doing a lot of cleaning up too, but we got some pretty cool things, and that was one of the cool things. My sister had no idea what that was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm freaking out. So anyway, I ended up with 3 of them. And I posted them on eBay, but I didn't really know how to market them at the time. And so they didn't sell. So I just put them back they're in a plastic bag in a tub where they're not getting messed up. And oddly enough, it was Archaeology Mikey who told me how to, how to really market those. And he said you basically market them the same way you market Pokemon and that kind of stuff. Well, he was big into that stuff. I didn't really understand it. I listed them pretty cheap, and so and I had looked up comparable prices on eBay, and I wasn't out of range. I'm not going to say what I listed them for, but there was somebody else that had ones up there cheaper than mine, and theirs didn't sell either. And I think it was in the way I photographed them, and I don't think my photos were good. But anyway, Mikey had shown me some ads and stuff, and he said you really need to get with the comic people and the game people, and there's so much of that stuff on eBay that they're not going to see it. He said you need to get in some of the channels where you have people that actually collect that kind of thing. And I think he's right that if I advertise that they're in there, he had some nice coins. He is deceased now, but I talked to his mom, and his mom has decided that once things settle down a little bit, she is going to continue Mikey's collection. And so at some point, we may see his mom come in the channel because she wants to start learning more about what Mikey had. Mikey had a bazillion collection. I mean, his collection was amazing. That boy knew coins. And that was why I liked having him as a moderator, because Once he learned about a coin, he didn't forget. And I could say, "Hey, Mikey, what is it that's special about a blah, blah, blah?" And he wouldn't even have to go look it up. He just knew. Once he knew it, he knew it. I miss that kid. And by the way, if any of you were looking at the thumbnail for today's video and you just saw like eyes and a nose and stuff, that's Mikey. Mikey's keeping an eye on us. That is actually a picture of Mikey. That kid was kind of like the son I didn't have. And so yeah, that picture with the eyes and the nose and the mouth on the thumbnail for today's show, that's Mikey. That was the boy. So anyway, I'm going to have to go because I have not eaten yet. I have not taken my meds yet. I got to get all my clothes and stuff ready so I can get up, because I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning so that I can shower and get ready for this 2-hour trip. Yeah, his mom is planning on keeping them. She's going to work with Michael Kittle, I think, is going to help her ascertain which parts of the collection that she should keep. They actually went out to California to a coin show out there and met Michael Kittle. So I think he's going to be integral in helping her decide what to keep. And Mikey has a sister that these can be passed on to. So it's not like they're just going to nobody. So anyway, we may see her because there's a lot she does not know. So between Michael Kittle and I hope that we can encourage her to keep Mikey's collection going. So anyway, I appreciate all of you coming. I know it didn't turn out to be a metal detecting show, but right now, first of all, the weather today, I could have gotten away with it, but not the blowing sand and stuff with my eyes being what they are. But boy, I got a bunch of people up in Michigan that I've got 2 that are saving spots, special detecting spots that they're waiting for me to get up there so we can go. So I'm excited about it. I will probably come back on in a day or 2 and let everybody know what the doctor has to say about my eyes. If they have upgraded me any further on the residence list. So we will see how that works. Hey, Zaxxon, I was just leaving. But thank you so much for coming by. Oh. So anyway, like I said, I will be back on Friday and we will do some updates on different things. But I gotta go because I've been on here quite a while and I don't want to get my eyes too burned out before the doctor looks at them tomorrow and thinks they're worse than they are. So if y'all have not hit the like and all of that good stuff uh, before you leave, please do. And if you have time, go load up one of my playlists, because the main thing the channel needs is view time. I've got the people, I've got the more than enough videos. We just need the view time. So, anyway, M3 never did make an appearance because I think he's happy playing with his new banana. And I'm glad Mike Wolf got his pinpointer. That's a good thing. And I will talk to everybody in a day or two. You'll probably see a pop-up of the Deadbeat Club. So everybody take care. Have a good night. Behave yourselves. Don't let anybody be mean to anybody else. We don't need any mean. Good night, everybody. Thank you all again for what you did for me. I love you all. Bye-bye.